Hello, grade sixes. Today we are looking at ordering decimals. Not like ordering them on Amazon or something, but putting them in order in terms of what is biggest and what is smallest. And got a shout out to Jacob RM and Abby. Good job on your homework. So keep watching for your name if you do your homework. Okay, so let's compare a couple different decimals here. Okay, 0.2 and 0.7, so which is bigger? So I think that we can tell pretty quickly that it's 7/10 is bigger than 2/10. But if we weren't sure, one thing we could do is look at them as a fraction and then compare the fractions, because we've already studied fractions and we know how to tell which fraction is bigger. So this is 7/10 and this is 2/10, and we can clearly tell that 7/10 is bigger because, as you know, if the numerator is the same number, the fraction with the higher denominator is larger. So we know that 7/10 is bigger, so hence 0.7 is larger than 0.2. Okay, so we can compare decimals by comparing the relevant fractions. So let's look at some other decimals and see which one is bigger. Okay, so is 0.4 or 0.3 bigger? So you can think about this as we go through, and I'll say the answer, but just try to jump ahead of me and get the answer before I do. So which one's bigger? 4/10. Okay, what about 0.35 or 0.27? Which one is bigger? 0.35, so or 35 hundredths is larger than 27 hundredths. 0.8 or 0.9. Well, this is 9/10 and this is 8/10, so 9/10 is larger. So as I'm doing these, I can see which is bigger, but you can also be thinking of which one is larger based on their relevant fraction. So let's throw those in there for a second. So this would be 4/10, 3/10, 35 over 100, 27 over 100, 8/10, or 9/10. Okay, so we can see which ones are bigger based on comparing decimals or based on comparing the fractions. Let's try one more. 0.76 or 0.84. So that would be 76 hundredths or 84 hundredths. And so remember, if we have the same denominator, then whichever numerator is larger is bigger. So 84 hundredths is larger. Okay, so let's look at this. So compare a few more. Okay, let's start at this bottom pair. So 50 hundredths or 36 hundredths. That's easy. That's 50 over 100. What's larger, 5/10 or 36 hundredths? That's a little bit trickier because they don't have the same denominator, but 5/10 is half, and 36 hundredths is not quite half. So this one's larger. And then 0.5, 0.36. And this is where it gets a little tricky, because you might look at this and think, well, 36 is larger than 5. 36 would be larger than 5, except that this is really 5/10 or 50 hundredths, whereas this is 36 hundredths. If this was out of 10, it would only be 3.6 out of 10. Not that you'd do a decimal on a fraction, but this is actually the larger one. So there's a couple of different ways that we can see this. So by comparing them in fractions. So if we look, we can say, well, this is really 50 hundredths, and this is 3600ths, so that's bigger. Or we can look at it by making sure we have the same number of digits after the decimal in each decimal number, and then comparing. So if we added a 0 here, then we can see that 50 is larger than 36. So this is the larger number. And these numbers on the left-hand side are all actually equivalent numbers, and these are all equivalent numbers. So you could write it like 5/10, 50 hundredths. You could write these as 36 hundredths, 36 hundredths, 36 hundredths. Okay. Okay, let's try one last exercise here. So I'm going to give 3 pairs of numbers, and you're going to compare them based on two methods. So one, you can write them as fractions with the same denominator and then compare them, or you can add zeros like I did here, so that you're looking at the same amount of digits after the decimal, and then makes it easier to compare. So let's look at number 1, 0.3 and 0.24. Okay, and again, this one, at a quick glance, you might think that 0.24 is larger, but actually 0.3 is. So let's look at them in fractions with the same denominator and see why that is. So this one, we would like to make this out of 3/10, but this one won't go tenths without using another decimal, so we won't do that. So this is 24 hundredths. What is this out of hundredths? Well, it's 3/10 or 30 hundredths. Okay, so now we can see clearly that 30 is larger than 24, so this is larger. Or the other way we can do this is say, this number has 2 digits after the decimal place, so let's give this one more digit so that it has the same. Oh, 30, 24, this one. Okay, let's try another one. 0.57 and 0.614. Okay, so this is tricky at first. 614, that looks larger than 57, but remember, they don't have the same number of digits. So let's put them over a fraction. Let's put them into fractions with a common denominator, and then we'll try adding digits. Okay, so for this one, so we have to put it over the denominator that works for the number that has the most digits. So we have to do it for this one. So what is this? So this is the tenths place, hundredths place, thousandths place. So we have 614 out of a possible 1,000. Okay, and if we had 1,000 thousandths, what would that be? That would be 1. Okay, so then here we have 57 hundredths, which would be 570 thousandths. So 570 thousandths or 614 thousandths. So we can see this one is bigger. At a glance it looks bigger, and it is. And you can also tell by looking at the first number after the decimal. So what's larger, 5 or 6? 6 is larger, so that's the larger number. Or we can add our 0 here, just like we did for the fraction, and we can see 570 thousandths is smaller than 614 thousandths. Okay, we'll try one more pair of numbers. Okay, 0.009 and 0.0045. Okay, so these have different numbers of digits after the decimal place, so that's one way we'll try it, and we'll also try it by putting them over a common denominator. So let's just pop this 0 in here so that this one has 4 digits after the decimal and this one has 4 digits. And now I think you can probably tell right away which one's larger, but let's put these over a decimal. So tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths. So we have 90 out of 10,000 possible, and this is 45 out of a possible 10,000. Okay, So, alright, so which one is larger? Well, this one's larger. And we can see that once we added that 0 in there as well, that that is larger. And this is in fact twice as large. This one is twice as large as that one. Okay, so so that's the lecture for today, and I will include in the email and what to do for homework, and I'll also include it in the description box under the video. So thanks for watching.